In the industry of car thefts, only 24% get recovered.
We decided to get in the car and drive to where the location of the GPS tracker was showing. We found our car on stilts outside a farm.
126.32% increase in thefts in the UK. It works on Wi-Fi sniffing. It just, everything is going to have a phone on them.
Wi-Fi and then they're giving it out a signal anyway.
It's going to give it away. If you've got an asset, we can track it. If you've got an old granny and you think you're worried about her wandering, we can track the granny.
Hi guys, this is Adam at Dorset Prestige Cars, and next to me we have Wei from GPS Gadgets and Chris here, who's also our top salesman here at Dorset Prestige Cars. The reason for this sort of meeting as such is to make you all aware of the products that we sell on our vehicles, to try and help you save some money on your insurance cost, and also to know where your vehicle is at all times, and inevitably to have it stop having it stolen. So I'm going to pass over to Wei. He's going to explain a little bit about his product, which we are a strong believer in, and hope you guys are too.
Thanks, Adam. So at GPS Gadgets, we're a relatively new business in the UK, but our roots are in Cape Town. Over 20 years experience of tracking cars, vehicles and other assets. And for anyone who knows that market, they're very good at stealing stuff there. But unfortunately for us in the UK, that is an increasing problem. I mean, some of the stats out there are pretty horrendous. From 21 to 22, 126.32% increase in thefts in the UK. And 2023, actually we got slightly better, only 51.76. But that's a huge increase. We've got cost of living crisis.
Yep.
You know, all these things are having an impact on criminality, and that's spinning then into our customers paying more insurance premiums.
Yep.
The grief of losing their vehicles. And so we realised last year, actually, having my own experience with trackers, that I felt there was a market for us to open up into the UK. So we now have a comprehensive range of Thatcham-approved products and non-Thatcham, because there sometimes is a requirement to put something else in there, something what I call a bit special, that gives a backup to the client's needs. But we're constantly evolving. And we're very happy to work with clients, and we are not a click and collect. I know you're not. We're very much a customer focused driven business. So
yep.
When we get an inquiry, we want to talk to the customer, we want to talk to you guys, find out what the vehicle is and match the right tracker and package for that car.
Yeah, I completely agree. What we're struggling with at the moment in the car industry, in sales especially, is our cars sort of devaluing so much. So I'll give an example. We've got a Jaguar F-Pace. We've had it in stock for 3 months currently, and it's dropped £4,000 on its retail value. And that's mainly because people can't get insured on them. In main cities, insurance companies don't even want to entertain insuring a Jaguar Land Rover product. Chris here will explain to you as well that he's just come from Land Rover, and you know, we're really struggling in the sales of JLR products because of what's going on at the moment. Not just JLR though, generally a lot of the cars, RS ranges and the M Performance cars and anything with a bit of sort of value to it, they'll take it.
We're looking at farm equipment. It's something that Chris and I were talking about. Yep. Perhaps we can pick up on that in a minute, Chris, actually.
Yeah. We've had a conversation in the past as well where you were doing forklifts, is that right? So you had a contract with
really
a load of forklifts.
Very interesting. I think this is a market that is going to explode for us. So we had a situation where one of our clients took trackers into his GT3, and we were talking about his business. He said, well, I lease forklift trucks, and I sell forklift trucks. I said, oh, yeah. And he said, I've done it 20 odd years and this and that. And I said, do you have any problems with stuff there, of theft and stuff? Well, actually, he said, I do. He said, last year, it was last year I was talking to him, he said, we've had 3 stolen this year. I said, so what do you mean stolen? He said, well, you come along and you say, oh, I'm Adam, I want to loan this for 3 days, I've got some work to do. And you give me the ID, you pay the money, go away, you're not Adam, you've got fake ID, and you clear off with his forklift truck. I said, well, that cost a few bob then, 3 of those. He said, yeah. I said, so what do your insurance companies say? And he said, well, we self-insure in our industry.
Oh, God.
Because it's too expensive.
So they take the hit for all 3 of them?
Okay, that's not good. I said, what other problems do you have? He said, well, late payment. He said, I've got someone who's got a unit for 2 years, 3 years. He said, and they're paying. But he said, we'll send them the invoice and they're 30 days behind. So you've got a cash flow issue. I said, okay, how would this work if we were able to give you a tracker that you were able to install in that vehicle, and then you can see where it is at any one time. You can see it on your computer. If you've got 100 units, you'll see 100. If you've got 100 cars, you'll see it all on your phone or on your computer. And I said, and then they don't pay. You can remotely switch it off. Now, not dangerously, you can instruct it to switch off. And then what happens, guy says, oh, it's lunchtime, I'm going to have my sandwich. And he's halfway up in the air, he comes back, it's not going to start.
No.
He's then going to phone my client and say, oh, it doesn't work. And so, I said to him, well, of course you can say, yeah, it's because you're not paying. He said, I'm going to send an engineer out. And bill him for that. So I said, okay, that's another way of doing it. But that's the sort of thing we're doing, and we can do this on farming equipment, world's your oyster, really.
It's a big world of products you've got there, isn't there? Big range.
I mean, when you look at sort of the main thing with farming equipment is obviously the GPS parts on them as well. So, a lot of people, they'll say they've probably got about an average of 6 weeks until they get nicked off it. So I know you were saying to me.
Do you know what the cost of those are? It's got to be thousands, isn't it? So I've seen the news articles. It's about this big, isn't it? Yeah. And it fits in the cab, and it enables the tractor,
to self-drive,
to self-drive and go up and down and do the thing right. Well, we've got a unit. We call it Sentinel. I love this personally. I use it myself in our cars, but it's a backup unit. It works entirely different to your traditional GPS trackers because they are looking for those sorts of things, thieves. They're not looking for this baby, and we can hide that in there. It works on Wi-Fi sniffing. It's got its own battery source, and if that asset is stolen, as soon as it's moved from that vehicle, it will ping to the guy who's got the owner of it, and it will send him an email, and it will say your asset is on the move, and you'll be able to track it just as you would, say, looking at Waze.
Yeah.
But in Cape Town, using that backup unit in vehicles recovers near on 100% of the asset within 45 minutes. So I would say if you've got a farmer out there or two, we'd be happy to give them a couple of demo models.
Yeah.
For a 3-month period and see what happens. If you're saying they're getting nicked that often, then chances are it's going to be put to the test quite quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. And wait, what's your sort of recovery rate, would you say, on getting the vehicles back or assets back, would I say?
We don't tend to talk about that, but what I can say is it is about statistics in the industry of car thefts. Only 24% get recovered. Now, that's not talking about those who've got trackers involved, but we would expect with the right tracker package, a high percentage of the assets going to be recovered. Particularly the very, very high-end units, then we'd say you need an ultra pack, which is going to be the full, say, S5 Plus Thatcham, which has got immobilization. It is the Rolls Royce. That's what goes in your high-end cars, Range Rovers, Lambos, anything like that. But thieves are pretty clever.
The thing as well, like the S5 Plus with immobilization as well, it's time as well. So if it's, you see quite a lot of the videos on the internet, don't you, where literally they are in and out, they've scanned the key, bang, in, gone, you haven't even got time to get out of your house sort of thing. Whereas it's gonna, even if they do get past it, it's gonna take time, isn't it, to get past it. It's not an instant, they're not instantly gonna get around it. So
what's that video that's going around at the moment, isn't it? They follow a Range Rover into Tesco's car park. They know the Range Rover is gonna be in there for 20 minutes. Well, once you have this product, you can lock the car down. So when you get out of the vehicle, you've got an app on your phone, you can immobilize the engine. Once you've immobilised the engine, they might get into the car, they won't be able to start the car, so they'll give up and have to drive off and get the next one. So for the sake of a £450 investment, you're going to save yourself a lot of money. Insurance premiums, your excess on your insurance, and the inconvenience of not having your car. It's a big problem.
Well, my own Porsches, I have an immobiliser on there, and if someone was to lift my keys off of me, I went to a restaurant, a pub, and they got the keys. They go, so they're never going to start that vehicle.
Never.
Yeah.
So wait, how did you get into the GPS tracking systems?
Well, it's interesting. I've always loved cars, particularly I'm a Porsche guy.
You are known as Mr.
I've had
Porsche.
17 over the years, air-cooled, all sorts of things. And in 2022, I got a new Cayman GTS coming in. And anyone you talk to who owns Porsches, they don't like the actual inbuilt Porsche system, and they find it clunky. You have to have like a little disc with it, and people tend to leave them in their glove boxes, which invalidates your insurance, I'm afraid. So I happened to talk to my mate in Cape Town, who I knew installs for Porsche.
Yeah.
We do hot weather testing for any of their cars that come into Cape Town. So I said to him, I said, it's a pity your trackers don't work in the UK. I said, because I know you said how easy it is on your phone. He said, no, they do. He said, I'll send you one. I put a UK phone chip in it. And that sort of put the idea into me, thought, okay, this is really cool. And I started telling mates.
Yeah.
And from that, they were going, well, I'd have one of those. I like that. I don't like the Porsche one. And so it kind of got to a stage where I thought, no, there's a business to be had here. So we decided to set up GPS Trackers UK. And we are, we're gaining momentum. And I think
definitely from where we first started, we actually were one of Way's sort of first customers, not his first, we've got McLaren 720S, and we wanted the best security system we can have. We approached Way, we know Way through car meets and stuff, and we've been so happy with it. I mean, the car, we can find out where it is whenever, any time of the day, even if it's an underground car park, we can find out where it is. We can lock the car down, which was really quite impressive.
And there's a funny story as well that I often tell this, when you went to have some wheels done on it.
Oh, yes.
And I love this. I use this as a great example of what data we can provide you with.
So basically, we took the McLaren to get the wheels refurbished, back to the garage we bought it from, had some lacquer issues. And he promised it was going to be trailered to the wheel place. We didn't want it driven. Next minute, 2 days later, our phones alert and the car's getting driven. Not only driven, it's getting driven at speed. So we're looking on the app and we're like, what's going on here? It's doing like 90 and a 70. So we thought we'd leave it. We're not going to start kicking up a fuss for a minute. When we collect the car, we'll have a word. Anyway, we found the car was in a farm and we're like, what is going on here? So we decided to get in the car and drive to where the location of the GPS tracker was showing. We found our car on stilts outside a farm, and it was not as they kind of explained. They were like, it's a lovely industrial estate. Your car's going to get trailered there. It wasn't at all. It got driven to a farm and this guy was taking off the wheels and refurbing them. So for that information, it really did help us, because we kind of knew we were getting a wool pull over our eyes a little bit. So it was a very good system and it helped us a lot.
And we gave you a printout as well, the speeds and everything.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. And then we wwent back to the dealership we bought it from and they didn't have a leg to stand on. So we didn't have to pay for our wheels, luckily. So actually it was quite effective. So thank you for that.
No, it's a pleasure. No two cars are the same. So our role is to actually discuss with you guys, discuss with the customer what it is that they've got, what they're buying, where do they live, because that will make a difference to maybe the level of security we might recommend. And then, let's have a little chinwag. So what's happening at the moment then?
I mean, I had a customer, he got a BMW 1 Series off us.
Oh, yeah.
So for him, obviously that car doesn't come with any sort of standard system. The only thing it's got is its standard immobilizer. And it's sort of it's key basically. It's got an alarm system, but obviously no really extra security for it. So what sort of would you offer and recommend for that?
I mean, I obviously have a Thatcham approved product, because then that that's been tried and tested. It's a rigorous process to get that approval on each different unit. I think that's the starting point. And I would say probably something like the S7. It's a movement alert based thing. It's on his phone. So he arms it, he geo-locks the area where the car is. So say for argument's sake, it's on an industrial estate, it gets moved around. You don't, or on your dealer, you don't want the thing going off all the time. So, and being called by a call centre to say, oh, your car's stolen. So you can geo-lock it. But if
does that really sort of set a parameter of where the car can leave? If it leaves out of that parameter,
then it will alert.
Fantastic.
It will alert the 24-hour service team. They'll contact the client if he's not aware. They'll contact him and say, your car's been on the move. Is there a problem? And then they'll go through security to stand it down if it's not. But that would be, I would say, a sensible option for something like that. Yeah, the car's
so
not
under
mega
10 grand.
expensive.
It wasn't a huge value car, but it's still a very desirable car.
Yeah.
And it still wants to be, it's the customer's prized possession. So,
and I think the thing is with it as well, sometimes it's hard for people to get their head around why should I have it? Well, you are getting to a stage where it's going to be compulsory, I would say, pretty much for any car.
Yeah.
It is going that way.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. So get ahead of the game, but have the right conversations with your insurers. When it comes up for renewal, I have an S7. Because let me tell you, there are going to be insurers who will give you a better deal simply because you've got that. You're protecting your asset.
yeah.
So that's why.
So what's the cost of an S7?
Well, you're looking at £350. That includes fitting.
Yeah, okay.
And let me tell you, the fitting process is quite lengthy. Anything between an hour and a half, depends on the vehicle.
Yeah.
But that's either here or at their home. So we can go anywhere, literally. We got
Work, home, anywhere.
Yeah, round the whole country, including Northern Ireland. So if you had a guy came down and picked up, I know you've got Bentley out there, picked it up today and took it back to Glasgow.
Sure.
And he's saying, well, I wouldn't have minded a tracker. It's not a problem. We can do that. We send him an order, we discuss it, we send the order form, and we book an install.
Awesome. Brilliant. Okay, well, going on to the Bentley then, while we're on that conversation, what system would you recommend for this Bentley? High end, so it's up for sort of £60,000, quite a desirable car.
Yeah.
You find them often in containers abroad within minutes.
Well, we've seen it on these YouTube broadcasts and Facebook and everything else. I think for that, I mean, entry level, it's got to be an S5 Plus.
Sure.
So that's got
this one here, then,
and I mean, you're coming in at 450.
Yeah, 450 for the product.
But that has engine immobilization. So we all know that cars have got immobilization. You haven't got the key, but they get past that,
yes.
Which is why we're in business.
Yes.
So this is the secondary engine immobilization. You can have a tag with you as well. So if you want, rather than, you can do it on your phone or you can do it just literally with the car, move away from the car, and obviously it's all going to be locked down and immobilized. Yeah. And there's a subscription with all of these. That's £20 a month, £240 a year subscription. But if a customer wants added protection, which again, when you start to get to that level, we would recommend a backup unit, the Sentinel.
Sure.
And we're finding, certainly in Cape Town now, that insurance companies are insisting on 2 trackers in every car.
Sure.
Or van.
And can you give a bit of detail on the Sentinel?
Yeah, so the Sentinel. So let me explain basically what happens is your traditional GPS trackers, they work from a phone signal. It's pinging off. Every so many seconds, it's pinging off. Now, thieves, with the right equipment, can soon find out where a tracker is, and they can get to it. So if they can nick it for a start, typically they're going to hide it in a shed somewhere where there's no signal, so that they can then properly get in and take the thing out. But with this Wi-Fi unit, which is we call Sentinel, it works on its own independent battery source, and we program it to suit that car. But as in essence, someone nicks that car, they put it in an underground car park, they won't get a signal, but if they've got a phone on them, that's the giveaway. In Cape Town, we recover near 100% of assets that are stolen with the backup unit in there, because it works on Wi-Fi sniffing. It just, everything is going to have a phone on them.
Wi-Fi, and they're giving out a signal anyway.
It's going to give it away. And it doesn't intrude, it pings, that's it. And we know, and we have insurance companies test the product with us. And they actually steal an asset and they put it in an underground car park. We don't know where it's going to be. But as soon as we get the alert, we've got it. We've got it within 45 minutes, the last one we did.
Brilliant. So from my understanding then, that one has its own battery, I believe, yeah?
Yeah, that works on its own battery. We send you a battery alert. I mean, it can last up to 5 years. Because when it's not in operation, for want of better, it goes to sleep. So when the car's stationary, it goes to sleep. When it's moved the car, it pings. When it stops, it pings. But we can get it to ping regularly if you want as well. So on something like a Bentley, we'd probably say, well, you want, maybe every 3 or 4 hours, you'd want it to ping back. And that might mean in a year's time, you've got batteries in, but that's not a big deal.
No.
They're just normal alkaline batteries.
Sure. So benefits of that as well is on something like the Ferrari behind us. It's a 1995. We don't want power drains on that. It's a car that's hardly ever driven. This one's got 19,000 miles on a 1995. So the batteries
That is
aren't getting regularly charged.
perfect product for a classic car.
Sure.
And you've got a nice Merc out there, I saw.
Yeah, 1987 SL.
That fits well in something like that. And if you've got a client who's got a number of cars, this is another solution. If they're not necessarily needing Thatcham, then you can have that product. And you know, they change cars. They say, well, I'm taking this one out today. They just literally move it from car to car.
Pick up the next
and it's
car.
very easy.
Or anything.
Very
Boats,
easy to hide.
anything
Oh
you
yeah,
wanted.
we use them for boats.
Sure.
Toilets. And
Parallel husbands.
we can track sort of pretty. Yeah. If you've got an asset, we can track it. If you've got an old granny who thinks you're worried about her wandering, we can track the granny.
Brilliant. Right, going on to that then. So we've actually been selling a lot of first cars recently, and we're finding parents are worried about their children. So we had a little brief conversation this morning about some statistics of what's going on in the UK.
Yeah.
Can you just give us a bit of detail on that way and how you can help?
Young drivers. There's a big piece, sadly, on the TV just this morning about young lads, young girls getting killed in cars. I mean, it's now the stats are 1,500 young drivers are killed or seriously injured every year in the UK.
It's crazy.
And the common theme that keeps coming up is they lost control of the car. And look, we were young once. Yeah. I mean, you know, you're a lot younger than me. Not a lot. You know. I'll get my pension in a couple of years. Anyway,
You've still got a brain of a flail. I love that.
So, you know, it's a serious issue out there for young drivers and a serious concern for parents.
Definitely.
Fortunately, my kids are grown up now, but I understand it, and we are now trying to find solutions that might go some way to tame some of these kids. So we're calling it Parent Track.
Parent Track, okay.
And essentially, we can install for, you know, because most of the time, parents are helping their kids out buy these cars.
Of course, yeah.
We can put a tracker in the car that the parents can see on their phones, and they can see where the child is.
But can they record speeds as well?
And they can see the speeds that they're doing. So if they are not winding their neck in, the parents can see it. And if they come to us, we can provide them even more data about trips and stuff like that. As
like the McLaren.
Yeah, similar sort of thing. But we think, you know, we're going to try and provide a parent track tracker at a very low cost entry level. You know, we're still working on numbers, but I think there is a market for this, for parents to have a bit of peace of mind, you know.
We believe that, Chris, don't we? We sell a lot of first cars, and the parents, you know, these first cars aren't like the old first cars.
No, they're not.
You know, a 1.2 Polo, the TSI we sold last week, that's equivalent to a 2-litre petrol Vectra back in the day. You know, it's the power is
which
crazy.
You couldn't have driven.
No, we never insured it. So even these little 1-litre EcoBoost Fiestas, they go really well.
That's 140 brake horse. A little 1 litre.
It's a first car. Yeah. And they're not built to last, these cars these days. They just crumple. So the fact, if we can keep an eye on the kids and help parents have a peace of mind, sleep at night, then...
The thing is, it's not like... my first car was an Audi, but it was £600 or someone was driving.
Yeah.
And these cars nowadays are not £600. They're a few thousand.
Well, let's be honest as well, there's that. But there's also, because of social media, you know, having a £600 car doesn't look good for some people. They need a nice car.
The parents forking out, you know, between 3,000 and 7,000, you know, sort of in our experience, or even upwards of that, but with no sort of guarantee.
And I think the thing about putting Parent Track is that they can, when they're negotiating with insurers, say, look, I, the father, am tracking the car, so we can keep an eye on what's going on. So that de-risks the possibility of theft.
Yes.
Smaller cars are much easier to nick, but that gives a better chance of recovery. But also, they can see there's a record of that car the whole time of what's going on with it.
I think
in terms of its driving.
One point as well that I had it as an experience when I was a bit younger. You know, you broke down or something like that, and you're in the middle of nowhere.
Where are you?
And you go, where are you? And you go, there's a tree near me. You can't see on your maps exactly where you are. They go, no, it's all right. I've got exactly where you are. I'll be out.
It's a great thing you're doing, Wayne, in respect of it's trying to help people cut their insurance premiums firstly, to keep their vehicles safe and to know where they are at all times. And now that, in fact, you're moving on to the side of parenting and trying to help these parents and kids have some respect for their cars and parents to give them an idea of what's going on, then it's a great thing that you're doing. So
obviously,
well
the only
done.
one we haven't sort of touched on yet is the S5. So it's
So
applications for that.
So where say you were looking at you talked about the BMW, we've gone a higher end. So the S5 tends to sit in the middle for one of us. So for example, an Evoque.
Yep.
You know, maybe 20, 30 grand car. It's up there. They are getting stolen. With this unit in there, it needs driver ID, so to be able to actually operate a car and get it to start.
Wow.
So
how does that kind of work? I can't really say.
Yeah, it'll all be done either by a tag or on the phone. So it's just adds it's about making it more hassle for a thief to get through security.
Again, that's sort of time.
You go entry, which entry's still very robust, as I say, because
and that'd be the S7 product.
The S7, because it wouldn't be Thatcham approved if it wasn't a robust system.
Yeah, of course.
And it's each product. It's thousands of pounds to get the approval on it.
Yeah, no, it's taken quite a bit of time to get there with it, hasn't it?
So we know that it's a good, robust product. And I think it's interesting for me, when I first started looking in, so I looked at the marketplace, and what I realised is it's a bloody minefield. It is,
I mean, when you go on your assurance, you scroll through all the options, what type of tracker is it?
Hundreds of different things, all these different variants. And actually, the reality is, you don't need hundreds, and you don't need the most expensive, because but people can play with money on prices. You don't need the cheapest, but what you need is I believe, a service, or someone actually thinks about what you've got. We're never going to be click and collect. Our business model is not about. It's about relationships.
Yeah,
and that's what the subscription provides, isn't it? It's that 24-hour
service. If the car gets stolen, then they're on it straight away, and they'll liaise with the police, tell them where the vehicle is, where it's moving to.
Because in that sort of situation,
all that sort of stuff
you're so stressed, and even if you've got a tracker, you kind of panic at that point. So you're not going to be very coherent for the police. So the fact that that's sort of dealt with on site for you is where the value's added in, isn't it? And it's professionals at the end of the day that deal with this day in, day out. They know exactly how to work with the police and stuff.
In a situation where the person's had the tracker fitted, they then sell their vehicle, can the old owner see where the vehicle is and go effectively take it back?
Yeah,
how does it work?
This is obviously a very common thing with people changing, particularly high-end cars. They're often flipping them out, moving on. So what happens in that situation? I think from the owner of that car, it's actually a good sales point to say, it's this price, but it has a tracker. Has this type of tracker installed, so that's actually going to help you with insurance premiums. So what happens, they tell us, they inform us, no, I'm selling this car and it's going out on this date.
Yep.
We will then effectively terminate that subscription, that contract. So that person will no longer be able to see that car. Once we've done that, we'll press the button, it's done. But the new person can actually pick up that subscription. So there's no install cost or anything like that, because obviously it's already in the vehicle. So they can now pick up, and we can provide them the same service for that car to continue on.
Great. So actually makes your car more desirable in some respects.
I would say so, without a doubt. But, there are situations where you may want to actually reinstall that in your next vehicle. And so that we can do a de-install and a reinstall in new vehicle for you. And that cost, we keep it to the minimum. We don't make any profit on that side of it, because what we're interested in is keeping that customer happy and keeping their contract going with us.
Sure.
So it's, it's transferable.
Transferable. Brilliant. Okay, thanks for that.
Well, it's giving you a bit of a flavour there, guys.
There's a lot to take in. I'm taking it all in now, but it's very, very interesting. And we're definitely going to be selling your products for our vehicles, 100%.
Yeah, well, we look forward to working
the
with
meeting
you
today
guys.
has been great, because it's given Chris, our head salesman, should I say, an idea of the product, and now he can make people aware of this product, and hopefully they'll buy into it, because they'd be crazy not to, really.
Well, it's been good to see you.
Thank you, Wei.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching, guys. Hope the information was helpful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. We are here to help you. Thanks again.